Welcome to Back on the Broomstick,
A modern witch's spoken word grimoire.
where two witchy friends from way back are reconnecting to their pagan roots after a long period of mundanity.
We're rewalking the path of the wise and trying out all the latest spells, rituals, and magical theory in today's witchcraft and pagan practices.
So grab your wand and your incense
Your cauldron and your crystals
and join us
as we get
back on the broomstick.
Hi, and welcome to Back on the Broomstick. I'm Layla, and on this episode, we return to our deity series and the aspects of the goddess. In this episode, we come face to face with the Laylla, the goddess of wisdom and deep inner knowing, the goddess of winter, transitions, rebirth, and death. We're talking Crone goddesses.
And here in my Crone stage, I'm Chelle, and I'm excited to circle back. You know, I love to circle back to things. And I'm excited that we have been able to circle back to this series because, we had Yule going on, New Year going on. We were getting festive for a while, but we did want to get back to our last two phases of the goddess to finish off our deity series. So, two to go. We're going to do the crone today. And being that I don't know, technically by definition, now in my crone phase, I feel like I'm an authority on this. How about you, Layla?
I do not feel like an authority at all, nor do I feel like, even though I'm older than you, that I'm in my crone stage.
It's the gray hair. That's the thing. It's the gray hair that's doing it to me.
I have a ton of that, but we're going to dip into why that is a little later in the episode. First, let's talk about what a crone is. What is the crone aspect of the goddess? What's the definition of crone? Traditionally, the reason why we're doing crone third, even though we've talked about the four faces of the goddess, and crone is the last one. Crone is definitely, technically, the last phase. We're talking about her now because traditionally, there were just the three faces of the goddess.
And a lot of people still only are aware of the three phases. So.
That's true. Good point. And those three phases you'll see represented by the triple moon, the waxing crescent, the full moon, and for the crone, the waning crescent. In the past, a woman's lifetime was defined by her ability to bear children, by her sexuality, by her very gender.
Damn society.
Right, seriously. Her life was divided into three phases: pre-fertile, fertile, and post-fertile. So about 0 to 20-ish is maiden phase, roughly 20 years. And then another 20 years, 20 to 40-ish, is mother phase. And then roughly when you start perimenopause or menopause sometime after 40 till 60, because that's when you die, is at 60, that's the crone phase.
I call bullshit.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Especially now, we know that womanhood encompasses so much more than the physical part of our body, than our reproductive abilities. There's so much more to being goddess, to being a mother, maiden, crone, warrior than just sex and reproduction. There's so much more.
Wait, there's more to life than that?
Some people try to tell you no, but yes, magical being, yes, there's so much more to life.
One thing I wanted to mention about this phase and why I think that I am mastering this phase thus far is I feel like it's a culmination, not just of the other phases, but like when you're in that maiden phase, you're new, you're fresh, you're budding, you don't have the experience yet, you don't have the background, the history. And then when you're the mother, you're still possessing that maiden quality, but from different eyes. And I look at this crone stage is you still got that maiden energy flowing hardcore. You still got that mother energy flowing hardcore, but now you're adding an extra layer. It's like I've turned into an onion and I've got all these layers now. And, as we'll talk about the fourth phase, obviously that'll fit into it as well. But it's almost like a culmination of knowledge, experience, wisdom, life learned, life lessons. You know what I'm saying?
And we've talked in other episodes in this series about how just like deity can encompass all of these faces in one deity, we ourselves, through our lifetimes, encompass different aspects. Like when you're a maiden, you could be a crone. You could be a maiden mother crone in all sorts of different ratios throughout your life will embody different aspects of that. You can be a maiden who's very much a mother, or a mother who has a lot of maiden aspects. And a crone is all of those things.
Yep.
As you age, it's a little different. You can be a mother as a maiden, but until you've had those experiences of growing something, of mothering that, of nurturing that, it's a different experience of being a mother. And same thing with being a crone. You can be an old soul as a young child, but having all the lived experiences through your lifetime and being a crone, having lived through all of these phases, is a little different. Not saying one is better than the other. It's just different energy.
One you have background knowledge, and one you're
That's
going
right.
blind, one blind by by the seat of your pants.
Right. You might have knowledge in different ways, but one is lived knowledge, lived experience. And so crones traditionally, they were the one that helped the mothers, that helped the maidens. They gave that knowledge. So the crone goddess archetype is a deity who has lived experience and it wants to give that knowledge to others, wants to bestow that witchcraft, that magic, that knowledge of life to others. And she can tap into each of those phases because she has lived them all. She contains knowledge and experience of all of them in herself. Like, to use that plant analogy, the maiden's the seed that's sprouting, and the mother is the flower. The crone is that old, withered, dried flower that holds the seed pod right there. The seed of the maiden is right there, and she's standing up in the winter, ready to drop that seed. So she's encompassed all of these different aspects in where she's at right now. And so that gives her wisdom. She's sitting on that liminal space between life and death, between rebirth and transformation and all those things, and can give that knowledge to the next generation.
If you look up, some things online about the crone or the crone aspect, they're going to tell you things like disagreeable, mean,
Hmm.
angry, sinister.
She is those things.
I've had those days, but they don't talk about the knowledge, the precedent, the wisdom, the forethought. If I had to put the crone phase into like a tangible physical thing, I would call the crone stage a book of shadows.
Oh, I love that.
You've got all of these things to pull from that you might not have had in the past, all these things you've collected and gathered, knowledge, wisdom, whatever it may be, that now you can kind of impart out into the world. Whereas you were soaking it up in your maiden stage, now you're imparting it out in your crone stage. Almost like going from student to teacher.
That book of shadows analogy.
I love a good analogy.
And I love a good book of shadows. So as the maiden, you're writing the spells, you're writing these rituals
Right,
that you have done. As the crone, you're flipping through and you're seeing the notes that you've made, the adjustments,
right,
the new
right,
information, the different
right,
inks, the stuff you've
right.
stuffed in there. And it's full and it's still growing. It's still growing, but there's so much lived experience in that book of shadows. And I think that part of why when you look up crone, you'll see old and haggard. You'll see the Kyliak. You'll see death. You'll see the Morrigan in her fierceness. You'll see Hecate in her old form with the torch. Part of the reason is, yes, she is those things, yes. But it's focused on a lot because in Western society, in America, we value youth. We value sexuality. We value the ability to have children. We value that time of life. That's when a woman is most valuable. If you're too young for any of that, not really worth our time. But if you're too
If you're too
old,
old for that, you're not worth anything either.
exactly. Too old for movie roles, too old for a job, too old to do anything, too old to go to school, just too fucking old. Maybe you're too old to be married anymore and they trade you in for a younger version. That historically was the way that it was. Feminine knowledge on both ends of the spectrum was devalued. And that's changing slowly, but it is changing. And so I think claiming that power of the crone, those sides of wisdom. The crone is the story keeper, the keeper of knowledge, of these experiences that you can then impart. The keeper of magic. They're very often the cauldron keeper, like Caradwyn, like Baba Yaga. So yeah, they are disagreeable, and that is part of who they are, but not all of who they are.
I like being disagreeable.
We should be more disagreeable.
Seriously.
So, mysteries and magic. The crone holds all of these. She is the one that you sit at her knee around the fire and listen to the stories. If you need medicine or magic, the crone's who you go to. That's who you want in your corner. She's got the strategies, she's got the knowledge.
And you just sparked a thought that I forgot. Sometimes the crone can be viewed as that medicine woman, that midwife of sorts, that caretaker of the greater clan. And it's because they have that time spent, those years earned. If you want to be a medicine woman, that's time and study and practice, and you're not going to have that time served, study served, and practice served necessarily in your maiden phase. Whereas that crone just they have that tried and true background. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? You hit on something else that I absolutely love about the crone phase is that in the mother phase, you're building something, you're growing something, you're nurturing something. Maybe it's a job and it encompasses you, but whatever it is that you're growing and nurturing takes up all your time and your focus. In your crone phase, you have passed that. That thing has matured. Whatever it is that you have put your focus into is on its own now. And now you have more time to focus on you and what you want. And some people have a difficulty stepping into the crone phase because they don't know what they want. They only know how to nurture or how to mother others. And so part of stepping into that crone phase is learning, what do you want with your life? What do you want to do? And that's where a lot of the power comes, is you now have that time to explore your interests and your ideas and to go with that wisdom wherever it happens to take you, because now you can turn that wisdom inward, whereas before you were nurturing and turning it outward.
There's a quote going around on the internet by Clarissa Pinkola Estes.
Yes, women who run with
I
wolves.
love
Yes.
this quote. The crone is one who sees far, who looks into spaces between the worlds and can see what is coming, what has been, and what is now, and what underlies and stands behind many things. I sometimes also see the crone as almost like that all-seeing eye. Like be careful. Mom and grandma see everything. They hear everything. Like that. They can see the here and the now. I feel like in that crone stage, it's almost like you have a better vision of both this side of the veil as well as the other side of the veil more often.
I think also that closeness to the veil allows the crone to see more clearly. There isn't the fog of
It's more
emotions,
translucent. Yeah, yeah.
and you can see situations more clearly. You don't have the fog of emotions and things clouding your judgment. You can stand clearly in the center at that liminal space and see both sides of things, magically and mundane. Using that energy within yourself, again, you can claim this energy at any age. And I think it's interesting that at the beginning of this episode, you say you are in your crone stage. And I say that I am not yet in my crone stage.
I feel like because I'm somebody's grandma that I am. I feel like it just like, okay, you're a grandma, here you go. I feel like it's like a card that was handed to me when my grandson was born.
And you know what? That is a rite of passage right there. Some people will say that menopause is the rite of passage. As soon as your fertile years are done, you're now a crone. Or if you become a grandmother, you are now a crone. But I think that that can happen for some people at a very young age. You might become a grandparent. You might never be a grandparent. You might never have been a parent. And you might go through menopause at a young age for all sorts of different reasons. And you might not be ready to step into that crone phase.
You're not ready, are you?
No, no, I don't. I do feel like I am firmly stepping into the warrior phase, very much the queen, the sovereign, the enchantress phase, the one that we'll talk about next episode.
Now, Layla, here's an interesting point.
Yeah.
I hear you and I see what you're saying, but and we talk about this in other conversations outside of the podcast, but society kind of tries to pull you along a certain way. Society has kind of a certain narrative that it tries to fit you into. And I know that we as pagans and witches try to not necessarily fall into what society says we need to, but I feel like as soon as I had my grandson, that the pagan society kind of yanked my arm into this crone stage. Like I felt like it was like societal pressure. And not that anybody said or did anything, and I'm not saying that they did, but just that, all right, bitch, you're a grandma now, you're a crone, here you go. Kind of that forced moving on.
Yeah, and okay, I'm gonna say something. So everybody, get up real close to your speakers because this is a big secret. Pagans and witches are people too.
What?
They are, and people have prejudices, and we and we fall into that whole maiden mother crone idea of it being tied to a human's reproduction cycle is hardwired into a lot of particularly older pagans' brains. They have a very difficult time even seeing the fourth face of the goddess, even
Right.
though she's right there. And they have a hard time divorcing it from reproduction. And so those people will very much say, oh, you've gone through menopause? You're a crone. I don't care what age you are. Oh, you have a grandchild? You're a crone. I don't care what stage of your life you're in.
Right, right. And I feel like I've gotten swept up into that propaganda.
And do you embody a lot of the things of a crone? Yeah, you fucking do. So do I.
Kind of crony.
But that's not the point. People can have bits and pieces of everything at different stages in their life. Deities will have bits and pieces of all stages, no matter what aspect they're supposed to be. That doesn't mean you have to be in that phase.
Yeah.
There's so much more to it.
Yep.
So yeah, we definitely embody a lot of the things with as a crone. We fit the crone archetype. But because of who we are and because we're not in the 1900s anymore,
Literally.
and because we know so much more about these stages, I'm not exactly sure where I'm going with this, but I feel like because we know more and we know that there's more there, it's less limiting, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
You think it's easier to not get pigeonholed?
I do, but I totally feel you with the people around you. You're around a lot of witches you work with witches all day, every day.
I do. I go out to get my tea for lunch and there's witches. It's kind of
Yes.
nice.
But with that extra exposure comes exposure to witches that are going to have, yeah, they're
Prejudices.
going to have
Yeah.
prejudices, even if they don't realize that's what it is.
Yeah.
There's still a little bit of unlearning, I think, that would be good when it comes to these archetypes because they don't fit with our lives anymore. There is so much more to life than reproduction.
And we can say the same exact thing about, the youth warrior sage, with the god
Exactly.
aspects, the same exact things. It's just I feel like that pressure is more put on women than it is on men.
Yeah, preach it, sister. You're exactly
Why
right.
can men age gracefully and women all of a sudden turn into these old hags with pointy noses and warts?
Right?
I
Seriously.
don't get the narrative. I just don't get it.
And what's wrong with that? I mean, if you end up having a pointy nose and warts, okay, shit happens. But, we're so obsessed with being
I feel like you
beautiful.
would have had
It's,
that pointy nose at 20, though.
you might have, you might have, it's true. I kind of aspire to that witchy aesthetic. I still want to be the bog witch in the forest when I get older. That's what I aspire to. So
Well,
pointy
yeah,
nose, warts probably come with that. I'm all right with that. So, but that image right there, like think Baba Yaga.
right.
Think the Wicked Witch of the West. Think the pointy nose, the warts, the haggard. Think crone. First thing you see when you think crone, think Disney hag, think Disney
Yep.
witch. Those ideas of aging are very much seen through a patriarchal, you're only as good as your value as a breeder.
Right.
And now we obviously know there's more to life than that. But there's freedom in embracing it too. There's nothing wrong with being in your crone phase. It's probably the most powerful phase of your life to be in, to have that knowledge behind you.
I think that you get that power, so to say, from that experience and knowledge. I mean, I guess I just kind of look at these phases on some level, not all levels, obviously, but on some level, almost like layers of knowledge. Are you a beginner? Are you a novice? Are you an expert? Kind of that scholastic view of the layers of the goddess.
That's kind of a good way to, are you a grade schooler? Are you in college or are you a postdoc? I mean,
Right, right, right.
yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. And you can make your own markers. You can decide for yourself when you are a crone, when you're done with one phase and start another. No one else has to tell you. You'll know in your bones when it's right. And I think you've earned your gray hair. You raised a wonderful, phenomenal family, and your child has a child. That's something to be celebrated.
That's
And that,
bizarre, is what that is.
yeah, yeah, it is. And being able to pass that knowledge on, being able to share that, that is something that should be respected and honored. And that's definitely something that I think is important with these phases. I think our culture has lost marking these stages. We have birthdays every year, and sometimes people have like big 50th, or you'll have a big 21st birthday, a big 16th. I think we should make those more normalized to celebrate moving into a different phase of life. I'm an adult now, or I'm a sage now, and so you celebrate that transition because there's so much to celebrate about it.
Now, I remember from back in the day, and I don't recall a lot of details, so I'm hoping you can jar my memory. Do you remember there used to be a ritual? Well, I mean, there probably still is, but there used to be a ritual called croning. Do you recall that?
Yes. I do. And actually, a couple of years ago, when I was at the Parliament of World Religions, they did a few wonderful women, Jean Shinoda Bolin, Phyllis Curate, quite a few other women. They actually had set up one room as a red tent room. The whole inside
Ooh,
was decorated with red silks. It looked like a big red tent on the inside, complete with carpets and
ooh.
pillows and candles. Absolutely gorgeous. And a lot of the women focused workshops were there. And then at the end of the week, they did have a croning ceremony.
Oh, wow. Did
And
you
I
go to
almost
it?
no, I got there and I left because I don't feel like I'm ready for that yet. I
Right.
don't feel, not that being a crone means you're done learning, but I don't feel like I'm done learning. I don't feel like I'm done growing. My children still live at home.
That book of shadows is still growing. Yeah, that book of
Yeah.
shadows is still growing.
I still feel like I have one foot in the mother aspect. My children have not yet left home. I mean, they're in and out a little bit. We're getting there. We're getting there. And I still focus on that. I still have focus on them, but I am starting to focus more on my projects, focus more on what my husband and I want to do, focus more on what it's going to look like when it's the two of us moving forward in the world, and things will be different. But that still doesn't feel like a crone phase. I also feel
That
very
just
much
feels like our 20s.
right, exactly. So I still have a foot in the mother world, and I'm still growing and learning and exploring, and I am very much coming to me and to what do I want? Who am I? Where am I going? So that doesn't sound like a crone. Crones know who they are.
But by definition of crone, by the mere definition of the crone, anybody who knows you knows that you've probably had a foot in the crone stage for like the last 30 years.
Yes, that's true. That is very true. And maybe that's why I'm not yet ready. Maybe because I've been there for so long. I need to explore other things. I need to more fully be in the other
Well,
stages because I
that
missed
goes
it,
back to
maybe.
what I said at the beginning. Why do you have to only be able to be in one stage? Why can't you just be? Why can't I be maiden mother crone warrior? Why do I have to be in this stage, in that stage? Fuck that. Why can't I be all four at once? Like, why are there rules? We say there's no rules, and now we're talking about stages. I want to be all four every day, all day.
Preach it. I'm over here like cheering. You guys can't see me, but I'm like cheering. I'm doing hands in the air. I'm like, yes.
She's fist pumping me, guys. She's fist pumping me.
Because you're so right. You are so right. That's
What if
so
I wake
true.
up and I wake up in the morning as a mother, get my shit done. You're in that mother stage and ba 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 ba, I gotta kill it. And then, as you go into the afternoon, okay, I gotta crone this shit out. And then by nighttime, I'm like, let's mate in this. Or
That's
or
right.
if I've been in a situation, I might have to go warrior mode that evening. Maybe it's because I'm a Gemini and I can just flip on a dime, but I feel like in any part of the day, I can pull on any aspect needed. And maybe I guess that's part of being the crone is to be able
Mhm.
to immediately pull on, well, I need to be a maiden right now. Okay, now I need to be the warrior right now. I don't know, but that's how I feel like it's everything all together.
I think you're absolutely 1,000,000% correct.
Good answer.
Good answer. Good answer, Bob. That's the way that we all are. We are different aspects. And, maybe we are majority of one aspect at specific times in our life. But the bigger point of the maiden mother crone, and even the holly king and the oak king, is that life is made up of cycles, bigger cycles and smaller cycles. And you can see these overarching cycles throughout your whole life, maiden, mother, crone, and beyond. You can see them in a year, in the seasons. You can see them in a month with the way that the moon changes. And you can see them every single day with the sun rising and setting and your own circadian rhythms. These cycles are in everything. And that's why we want to see them in our deities. We want to see ourselves reflected in deity, and vice versa, deity reflected in ourselves. It doesn't necessarily follow our physical age. I think more of it is mental. More of it is, where are you at in your life? And because I'm at the point where I feel like I am less growing other people and a family and more starting to grow myself, I don't feel like I'm in the crone stage yet.
You're not molding humans anymore.
Right, I'm molding me. I'm ready to
Yeah.
mold me. I'm not settled and content in the different lives that I've lived, the different layers that I've had. I want to explore new layers. I want to explore more and add more layers. So that's kind of why I feel like maybe I'm moving into the warrior stage.
But in the same respect, all the things that you may had to put aside temporarily, you now can circle back to. So it isn't
Exactly.
even, it doesn't necessarily have to be about new. It could be circling back.
Yeah, maybe in your maiden phase you had to put some things on pause because
Yeah.
you had
Back burner
children or you
stuff.
jumped
Yeah.
into a job or you had to take care of family and back
Yeah.
burner stuff. And now you can unpause that and get
Correct.
into it yourself. And
Correct.
that can be a crone phase. Crones, especially in the beginning of the crone phase, they're all about coming into their power. I mean, Caradwyn, look at Caradwyn. A lot of people see her as a mother goddess. She's technically a crone. But she's very easily seen as a mother goddess because of that cauldron of birth, because she
Right.
gives birth to Gwion. She has children. So she's seen as a mother, but she's a crone goddess because she can do it all. She embodies all of those things. And she's that transformer. She has that foot in life and in death. She walks that liminal space that crones do. There's an idea that you are the age you think you are. And so people can be crones walking around feeling and acting like they're in a much younger stage of life.
Yeah, I just think Gen X ages differently from all the shit we ate as kids in the 70s and 80s, to be honest.
That's true. I think we're all redefining what it means to be a crone. And being a crone is knowledge, it's power, it's knowledge of yourself.
I'm glad you said redefine because I think that people are pulling away from textbook definitions, is what it is. Kind of along the theory of, I don't give a shit what Robert Graves said the Crone stage is, because I am 50, this is my life, and I'm living it, and I will tell you what the Crone stage is.
Thank
You
you.
know, so I don't even know if it's a redefinition of it, but a reclaiming your own space and place. And
Yes.
not reclaiming your space as in, magically I'm taking my space back, but more in a, I am reclaiming the point in my life where I am at. And just because me, Chelle, 50, is in this particular spot in my life, spiritually and magically, doesn't mean that Joe Blow, who's also 50, is in that same exact age and space and place. Age is just a number. I know that's an annoying thing, but it's true because an age doesn't mean that we're all in the same place. Just
Right.
because you're in your 50s doesn't mean everybody in their 50s is in the same exact mindset and in the same exact trajectory. You know what I
Right.
mean?
You can have Joe Blow over here who, because of his life experiences and where he's at 21, is a crone. That can happen. And you can have Bobby Sue over here, and because of her life and experiences,
It's
she's
totally
in.
a maiden in her 50s.
Exactly. Exactly. It's about how you're walking the path. What have you learned? What have you
Right.
absorbed? What have you seen? What have you incorporated into your life? What experiences have you had?
What phase do you feel you're in?
Exactly. And if you asked your friends, oh, that's a good exercise. Here's a good one. I'm going to say journal, but journal it. Write down
Sure.
how you feel. Write down some characteristics about yourself and see how they compare to the maiden mother crone aspects and see where you feel like you fit in there. Then I want you to imagine three people that are the closest to you And what would their answer be if you asked them? I mean, you don't have to really ask them, although you could, but what would their answer be about what stage you're in? And kind of compare that and see what your view of you is compared to how other people see
Or
you.
even if you're too afraid to do that, too afraid to put yourself out there, do that with, where do you feel you're at? And then, kind of levy that up to what the books and the wider net say is, it doesn't necessarily have to be about you personally, but what does that phase mean versus what do you feel that phase means?
And you can even do it in a very simple 4 card tarot spread.
All goes back to tarot, man.
All goes back to tarot. Pull one card. This is my maiden phase. What is the major lesson of my maiden phase? Pull the second card. My mother phase. What is the major lesson of my mother phase? Third card. My crone phase. What is the major lesson of my crone phase? And then pull the fourth card, the warrior card. What is the energy that will carry me through all of these lessons?
I love that spread.
And then go through that. Do this at every age. You have all of these in you. Just like that seed that's growing into a flower contains the flower, contains the stems, the leaves, and even the next seeds that will drop. You yourself contain all of those different aspects within you, no matter where you're at on the age range. You have all of those there inside you at all times.
God, I love this crone stuff.
You just like it because you're a cool crone over there. You've lived all these things.
Well, yeah.
So some crone deities. We've talked about Hecate, and I know she appears to you more in her mother phase, but a very popular phase of Hecate is her crone phase. She's the guide, which a lot of crones are. She's depicted like the hermit. She's got her torch. She's the torchbearer. She's the guide out of the darkness.
You are correct. I have generally almost always seen Hecate in that mother phase, that mother face. But as with a lot of goddesses, people are like, well, you need like a maiden goddess for this. Okay, I'm going to call Hecate. Okay, you need a mother goddess for this. Okay, I'm going to call Hecate. Okay, you need a crone goddess for this. Okay, I'm going to call Hecate. I find that a lot of the deities that I work with most often, I can see in every phase, whether
Absolutely.
that is Cernunnos as the youth warrior sage, or if it's Caradwyn is the maiden mother crone, Hecate, the maiden mother crone. I just feel like when I kind of connect with deity, whether it's male or female, that I can see them in every aspect. So I do predominantly visually have that mother view of Hecate, but I also have been able to pull on her for maiden and crone energy. You know what I'm saying?
There's some that are more difficult.
True.
Take the Cailleach. She's the Celtic goddess of death, of winter. This is her season. She
Hard to
rules.
see her as a maiden. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
it.
it can be difficult, but you can. Like the original Cailleach was Brea, I think. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, but she was a beautiful woman, a beautiful maiden. So you can. It's possible. Can it be difficult? Yes. If you look at the Morrigan and want to see the maiden side of her, that can be difficult. But sure, you can.
Kind of that, everybody was a maiden once, kind
That's
of
right.
that's kind of how I live. Everybody was a maiden once.
Yes. And so
You
you
know,
can certainly call on the different aspects of a deity, even if they're traditionally seen as one specific aspect.
and like I said, that's not going to work for every deity, but I just personally find that a lot of times that the deeper a connection with a specific deity I create, the more I'm able to see them at multiple levels.
Yeah. And Hecate is a good one because she's unique because you often see her with 3 faces. And some
Right.
people will incorrectly think that those 3 faces are Maiden, Mother, Crone, and they are not. They are three
No.
faces of the same phase. So
Right.
when you see Hecate with 3 faces and she's a mother, all 3 of those faces are mother. When you see her as a crone, all 3 faces are crone. So yes, she is 3 different goddesses, but when you see her face in triplicate, she should not be Maiden, Mother, Crone in that traditionally.
I kind of look at that more like a positive, negative, neutral. And I don't take the word negative how you may think it, but I
Right,
just
right,
kind of
right.
like a up, down in the middle is how
Yeah.
I kind of look at those three faces of her. Yeah.
Yes. And for her, it's because she's the goddess of the crossroad. Again, that's a crone thing, being a goddess of a liminal space. That's a crone thing. But because she's the goddess of the crossroads, she had to have three faces so she could see in all directions. So
Right.
that particular thing is for her depiction as seeing all, as seeing everything from her
As
position.
opposed to multi-phased.
Correct. Yeah. Might be difficult with Kali, but she's a mother. You know, you could see Kali, the destroyer. It's life and death. She's a crone, but you can also see her in a mother phase. Might be difficult to see her as a maiden, but you can do it. Like you said, the better relationship you have with a deity, the more you know
Correct.
them, the more you have experience and research them, the more you can find these different aspects that will fit.
Which goes back to what we've said in the past. Sometimes, you just got to dive in and work with these deities and spend the time to create those relationships.
Yeah. And a lot of these deities very much resemble the traditional crone and hag look. And so that can turn some people off because how are you supposed to see a young person
In an
in,
old body.
yeah, say in Baba Yaga
Try looking in
or
the mirror every day, kids.
there you go. Okay, that's a good one too because that's true. When you're in middle school and you look at the seniors in high school, they look so old and sophisticated. And then when you're a mom and you look at those seniors in high school, they look like babies.
Remember when 50 seemed ancient?
I do. I
Here
do.
we are.
And do you remember listening to your mom say, I just saw that new doctor and he just looked like a child? And you're like, Mom, that doctor's 45.
And hot.
That's right. So, but everything changes as you go through these phases. How you view them, how you view that deity will change. So, readjusting your relationship with those deities that are in different phases than you can be an excellent exercise. If you see yourself as predominantly in a maiden phase, connecting with a crone deity can be very profound. Or if you feel that you are in that crone phase, reconnecting with the mother or with a maiden deity can bring that different energy into your life. Maybe you're lacking some of that
It
energy.
can give you that refreshness that you may need, that extra zoom that you may need.
Yep. Maybe you're like me and you've been a crone your whole life. You were stuck there and you need some time in one of the other. Or maybe you're like Chelle. You have always been the mother. You have been stuck in that, taking the notes, taking care of things, making sure things got done, that phase for a very, very long time. So I'm happy for you actually that you are ready to move into a more person-centered, a more, you-centered phase. I think that's pretty cool. And
I'm in my me era.
there you go. My crone era. So,
Right.
maybe you need to reclaim that phase. Maybe you were stuck in one for a long time and you need to reclaim a different one. Working with deities that are predominantly in that phase can help you to see that aspect and to find the magic in that particular stage of your life.
And this episode is going to be coming out right for the new year, and that's going to be fabulous. And maybe that's kind of a good little self workshop to work on. What phase do you feel you're in? Jot that down. I'm not even going to say the J word, that horrible J word, but jot down, where do you think you're at? How do you feel where you're at? How does that measure up against where quote unquote society thinks you're at? And how do you feel about the phase to come or the phases behind you? I mean, that's some good stuff to work on for the new year. Where am I? Where am I going? If that ain't some New Year's bullshit for you, I don't know what is.
On the flip side of that, I love that analogy. And we are in the depths of the crone season. Winter is the season of the crone. She is that waning crescent of the moon. She's the ebbing tide, right? And she's the goddess of liminal spaces, of thresholds.
But she's also going to light the path forward for you.
Yes. And what else is a new year but a threshold, a path, an ending of something, a death of one thing, and a rebirth of something new?
And looking for that new path to follow.
Exactly. So this is a wonderful time to connect with your crone side, to work with those darker deities, to go into that cold and the dark and see what wisdom is there for you. Because it's the new year, it's a very good time to talk to that goddess, to talk to that grandmother and see what she tells you to leave behind. This grandmother wants you to pack up some old things. They belong in 2025, put them away, sever that connection, and be done with it. Grandmothers
Yep.
can help you do that. They can help you move on and move forward. So, in order to get in touch with your inner crone, to find out what's good to leave behind and what you want to carry forward to the year, I have a simple spell for you. This is a little bit of a meditation and scrying spell. You need a cauldron or a small bowl and some snow. If you don't have snow, ice from your freezer will work. Melt the water, but make sure it's still very cold. Basically, it's a reflection of winter, the Crone Goddess herself, cold and clear. So once you have your bowl and your water, find a place where you can sit comfortably and look at the reflections on the water in the cauldron. Sit very close to the bowl. Maybe put your hands over it or touch the sides of it. Feel that cold. Really feel the quiet and the cold of winter, of the season kind of settling on your shoulders all around you. As you feel that cold in your hands, think of being outside in the winter, in the woods, in the dark. Feel that hush of the snow falling all around you. The maybe slight fear of not knowing what's in the dark, of not having any warmth close at hand. It's an odd space of that quiet, that cozy hush, and still being a little wary, a little nervous of what might be in the dark. So think of that. Feel that cold, that breath of the crone, she who is the keeper of stories, who knows the endings, she who knows what must be remembered and what must be released. You're invoking her. You're invoking her from deep within you. Once you can feel that cold breath, that hush of a midnight forest, call to her. Say something like, "Ancient one of frost and bone, keeper of memory, keeper of time, I call to you through stillness and snow. Stand with me at the edge of the year that was and the year that will be. Softly gaze into the water as you call to her. Let shapes and ideas and thoughts and feelings form on the cold water, and ask her to show you the story of the year that has passed. What should be remembered, honored, and carried forward with you? What truth did 2025 carve into your very bones? Breathe into that moment. Breathe into that space. Feel that cold air fill your lungs. Let any images, words, thoughts, or feelings come up from the water. When you're ready, say, crone of liminal spaces, crone of crossroads and quiet knowing. Turn my sight towards what will be from the threads of what has been. Show me the thread I am meant to follow in the next year. Let the crone speak. Let that wisdom that knows all the stories tell you what she knows, what she thinks, what you know, and what you think. Gather those feelings and thoughts. And when you're ready to complete the meditation, place your hands over your heart or place them palm up in front of you and say, what is remembered is honored. What is released is made sacred. I walk forward with the wisdom of what was and not the weight. Thank the crone and take that water outside and pour it back into the earth. When it's warm enough, water a plant with it. But the idea is to release that, to return that, to complete the cycle. I definitely recommend journaling right afterwards so that you don't lose those thoughts, those bits of wisdom that the crone has given you. You can always call on her, call on that wisdom. She lives in all of us. So the idea is to remember the story of the past year that you want to keep. Let go of the threads that you are meant to sever and leave behind in the past year, and follow and honor the thread that's going to carry you to your goals in 2026. But rituals involving the crone often involve remembering and letting go. Crones are very, very good at remembering stories and letting go magic.
But also sometimes things are hard to let go and things are hard to walk away from. And that crone, as much as she will shout at you and tell you this way or that way, she'll also hold your hand as you're walking away from the things you need to shed and get rid of.
And bake you cookies and give you a big hug and tell you you're
Right,
doing a good job.
right, right.
So yeah, she's great for all of those things. Kick your ass, kiss your boo-boos, bake your cookies.
But help you move on and move down the
That's right.
road. Yeah.
Exactly. So, hopefully, all of you are ready to embrace a little bit of the crone in this winter season, in this brand new year season. Let go of the old and embrace the new, just like the crone tells us to.
And as we wrap up this crone stage, we are going to end this series, which I feel like we started a long time ago. We're going to end our deity series with our next episode being on the warrior in the warrior phase. And if you have not heard about the fourth phase of the goddess, if you are unaware, if you want more info, stay tuned, folks, because we've got some.
So, we will have all sorts of good witchy things for you in 2026. We've got workshops and conferences. We've got a new community. We have lots of amazing solariums planned for you, new interviews, new things. So, stay tuned. This year is going to be bigger and better and witchier than ever.
Hell yeah, witches!
So, get ready. Strap on those broomsticks, get your spell components by your side because we are going to have a very magical 2026. That being said, stay wise, stay wicked.
And whatever you do in 2026, you better keep it witchy.